This is our project that won the award last year. Um, and I just want to thank Prasad from my team, and there were two trainees, Ganesh and Tanaya, who relentlessly worked on the uh, very, very demanding presentation format of AESA, which is very good. And I must say that uh, I I've attended the juries before, but this last year was as if I had gone back to architecture school. I was constantly talking for 1 hour and walking because on the one side I had to explain the project, and on the other side there were a lot of questions from the jury because they were curious. And really, the jury is a multifaceted jury. So apart from architects, MEP consultants, structural consultants, landscape consultants, environmental consultants, there is a holistic way to look at projects. And the team actually that orchestrates the whole jury process is also, I must thank them, particularly Ninad, who was the bridge between the ASA team and us. And a lot of questions when the deliberations were happening, he would call me, sir, hey, pathota ka. Then I had to, quickly send that. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to that. I must say that, and I must request ASA as a family member, that you should really make some noise about the awards, because this is the only award after the Aga Khan Award where the jury visits the site. Otherwise, all awards, people see pretty pictures and judge a project. But here the jury comes at site, so it's a no-nonsense jury actually. You cannot lie. Whatever you show has to be facts. So I would request that you should now spread your wings to a national level also. Um, I want to, before I get into the project, um, extend my thanks to the entire team. I am standing here on behalf of them. It's a team effort. So our firm had about 5 architects working on this project because it was a large project. What I'm showing you is just part of that large project, which you'll see in the next slide. Um, but the structural consultants, Nandini, my wife, and her collaborator for the landscape, we had an environmental consultant. The client team, we have Amit Kate, who has come here. He was chief lead project manager, and his colleague Vivek. We had MEP consultants for air conditioning, electrical, plumbing. We had Mr. Satvekar, who has also come here, kind enough to come here, who was the PM. And we have contractors, Harshal Belkon, who did the building shell, Godrej Interior, who did the kind of interior work, Forbes, who did the landscape, and then we had Orbital, who did the electrical, and another contractor who did the HVAC. So as an firm, architectural firm, we were coordinating with 15 agencies. And I can say with little authority, you have to be the captain of the ship to manage everybody, bring them on the same plane, and then marry everybody and then take the project to a certain level. Because a project is a byproduct of a positive or a negative circumstance. I always believe in that. And you have to be most optimistic. If you are not optimistic, project will not come out good. So all these people it's a teamwork. It's not my solo game there. I was always making sure that everybody is coming to the same plane. And some of the ideas got executed, some didn't get executed. Let me be very open to you. Now, to give you a little bit of a context, we were invited to do this entire campus. So we master planned it. So this is a 188-acre campus for Bajaj Auto. It's just diagonal to Mercedes-Benz factory and the Automotive Research Institute, ARI, which is here. And that's the main Chakan Road. And the project is in 2 phases. The first phase is almost 1 million square feet. And the second phase, which is marked in orange, is yet to come up, which is uh, another um, yeah, 8 lakh square feet. So all put together, it will be about 1.7 million square feet of uh, work that will come up. And so what you see in gray is built, what is in orange is yet to be built, and this part is the non-manufacturing part. This is all manufacturing. Entire campus had a drop from west to east of 25 meters. It's highly sloping site. Um, so what we have done is everywhere the concrete roads which have a ring road loop, so that in terms of fire, emergency, everything is safe. And the project that got an award uh, was this building, which is 15,000 square feet, which is the plant office, where about 100 people sit. And out of that, 50 people are running the plant. So, unfortunately, because of this orange footprint which is going to come, which is the engine shop, uh, we could not orient the building with the shorter side being east-west. So the first handicap the building had is we had the longer side, we had to face east-west. So by default, the building heat load would go up. But that we saw as an opportunity. So that was a starting point. Otherwise, if you see, most of the buildings have east-west shorter to cut down the heat load. I won't get into the specifics because it's too long to explain. Um, the entire master planning was done in 7 months, and a big part of it was done online during COVID. So I used to spend 7 hours on the screen. And our team members from Bajaj also used to attend because we could go to office. And I'm happy to say that the entire campus was built in 2.5 years flat. And it is a proud moment for Made in India because it's the largest exports plant of Bajaj. And as we talk now, if I'm not mistaken, we have a 1 minute 1 minute assembly time per bike at peak capacity of the conveyor. So India is now matching up to the world. So the KTM, the new KTM is being assembled here. Um, Now, to ensure that when we are looking at such a large campus, I think there has to be an inherent theme. And for us, the three S's, synergy, sensitivity, and sustainability, are inseparable. And I didn't want my project to be designed and then we pad up a cosmetic rating on it. I wanted my project to holistically be sustainable. So we did a lot of studies on, this is part of my design research that happens in the studio in terms of how buildings are, placed, how water is saved. We had 2 perennial quarries at the site which we rejuvenated. How buildings are oriented, how materials are used. A lot of learning from Laurie Baker has been used in this project in a big scale in terms of wrap top bound, filler slab. I'll come to that. How spaces are ventilated, how light comes in, how do we use steel to create lean design? How do you reduce steel? All this was done. And all these sketches I'm putting up because these were the ideas which were discussed in the meetings. These were the client because you have to get everybody on the same page. So the idea was to be very holistic. Now, when we started, we worked on this diagram. I remember explaining this diagram to the team at Bajaj, and first they didn't understand. So I had to make a collage like this and carry it for the meeting because I had to explain what I mean by that. So in terms of architectural character, we wanted the building to be extremely honest and frugal. So very little of plaster paint and artificial finishing. We wanted the building to actually be honest. So we've used wired brick and exposed concrete and steel. Very little of plaster and paint because we wanted the building's rigor to be seen. Then the user sensitivity, right from 8 in the morning to about 4, you're spending a big part of your day. It's almost 8 hours of the 24 hours you're here. So what do you see when you are in the office? You see landscape. Indians like to talk to each other. How are you? How was your day? Visual integration is required. And light. If we are born to see light, as opposed to people sitting in IT offices who never see light, because our circadian rhythm is for the tropical eye. So how does light coming in? All this would have a mind-body connection. So the user sensitivity was looked at, and then the ecological consciousness, where right from day one we said we will have a net zero goal. Whether we achieve it or not, that's a different thing, because certain goals need initial investment. But can we have a zero or a low air conditioning office? Can we have more natural light? Can we have indoor landscape which increases oxygen? Things like that. So the 3S principle, sensitivity, sustainability, and synergy, actually became the three markers, which were three forces which drove us. And then this diagram actually explains the evolution. So it started with a 45 meter by 15 meter block. And then the plant team that is going to run the office was to sit at the ground floor. So we said we'll take a split level, because the upper level floor was sparingly occupied. So we have 50 people down, 50 people up. And then we said that all these people are going to get nice east light, but this sparing team is going to get west light, so we need to shade them, so there is an overhang here. But then many of them are going to be on this part of the office, so can we get the landscape in? So that's how the green spine entered into the office. And all this was then kind of given shelter with a 13 meter high roof. So we have a 15 meter span, and this way with the staircases it's 53 meters, but otherwise 45 meters. And I'm purposely showing these sketches. All these sketches are made in meetings, in design workshops, to actually reason out how simple a nice office building can be with a split level, with landscape coming in. It's not complicated at all. And the lines of structure, the lines of function where the workspaces are, and the landscape all talking to each other, and the servant spaces and the transition spaces, and how that then becomes a section with a split level. The meeting rooms purposely put on the west, and the double height space. And then we wanted trees, but unfortunately trees didn't come. But maybe in the next project we'll get trees in. But the whole idea was that this landscape spine literally cuts through the office and goes outside and becomes an inviting landscape. Now, I'll just show you the spatial organization of the building. So we opened up the east, so that these, again, we had slit windows, not very big windows, so that you get very optimal light. And all the workstations were planned perpendicular to the plane of work, so that you get side light, so you don't get glare on the screen. And that also happens on the west, where we have windows but with a big overhang, so that you get diffuse light again. The enclosed spaces, most of them were planned on the west to insulate the inner part of the office. And part of the meeting rooms, because this is fresh morning light, so we thought the meeting rooms should be here, were kept on the east on both the floors. And then this is the green spine, which actually cuts through, but the central part we thought would be a nice collaborative space. So people from upper floor, lower floor could come below and have events there. Again, in this we had openings so that southwest breeze kind of cuts through the building. And then the servant spaces, where we have the pantries and the restrooms, were at the ends. And then we have the transition space, which kind of... Now again, Why 45 meters and 53 meters? Because at any time you can run 22.5, which is within the fire code. So that was also looked at very carefully. And then, yeah, this is the staircase at the end. So this run distance is 22.5 and 22.5 at the ends. And then this is the section. So if you just relate the colors, we have from these cuts the southwest breeze coming a natural stack. But since we had west light, we have a lumar film. And actually, in the morning, this whole area is like north light, because from 8 in the morning till 4, you don't get glare. Of course, now we have an anti-glare film which cuts down the glare. And with this beautiful light coming into this section. And, wherever you are, upstairs or downstairs, you get this beautiful visual integration that is there, and you can see the cross ventilation. On the west as well as on the east, we had planned solar. By the way, the entire planned solarification for this whole plant is almost 5.5 megawatts. So, I mean, it's taking time, but it's beyond platinum. And as and when it is done, we can have almost 50% of our power needs on solar. Now, in terms of ventilation, we've used a system of HVLS fans with evaporative cooling on either side, which creates a current. So we straight away save almost 75% of energy. We don't have the typical air conditioning, and I must say that is used maybe twice in a year, and almost 10 months of the year we don't need artificial air conditioning, we just need fans. So look at the saving that is there. Now, all these things are very easy to talk, but they have to be quantified and they have to be justified. So we usually, for every project, whether it is green, platinum, whatever, I don't believe in that. I feel it's my responsibility first as a professional to have a holistic green agenda for every project I do. So it's like a prayer in the office. The green agenda is based on 5 elements of nature, Panch Mahabhutam. So air was looked at in terms of cross ventilation and ideally a zero air conditioning goal. Now, zero air conditioning goal does not mean that air conditioning is not there. The server room needs air conditioning because heat dissipation is there. Or the meeting rooms need air conditioning, but they are just 15 to 20% of the overall area. But rest of the area we have used evaporative cooling with HVLS fans, which reduce 6 times the need for artificial ventilation, artificial air conditioning. I mean, generally, regular air conditioning would consume 7 watts a square feet. Evaporative cooling just consumes 1.5 watts a square feet. That's the kind of saving. And then all the rainwater is harvested in these gutters, and then it drops down and it is harvested in the quarries that I showed you. We have used low flow fixtures which reduce water consumption by 40% because of the aerators. So from 8 liters a minute, we can come down to almost 5 liters a minute by use of aerators. And then the fire element was linked to obviously solar, but at the same time, the overhangs were planned as per the summer and the winter angle of the sun. Because even in winters, Pune has now started becoming hot. So if you have good shading on the east-west, you protect your building from getting hot. And of course, rain. Rain comes at around 50 degrees, so that is also required. Earth, we have reused entire murum from the excavation for plinth, for gabion walls, for retaining walls. We have not allowed the murum to go out. And most of the material, except for the exposed brick, which came from Godhra but was stocked in their stockist here, was within 160 to 150 kilometers. And then, of course, when we've done a proper energy balance at the end of it, this is the proof of the pudding. we have had a very high percentage of less embodied energy, and almost 38% operating costs are saved. And we have done an energy performance index which is almost 65, and now we are trying to go towards 50. So the minute you cross 64, I'm told you are in the super IGBC league. Mind you, all this was done during the design process, not afterwards. Everything was done while we were designing, as a part of the design process. So um, I'm very happy that this is almost net zero once the solar comes up. There is a catch to it. Okay. Um, Now, materials play a very important role, and here I must give a lot of tribute to Laurie Baker, whose techniques of low cost construction we have experimented in a big way in this project. So we have used filler slabs, we have used brick jalis and rat trap bond. Even the bricks that we used from Godhra had a low combustion percentage, almost 50% lesser than what you get in a regular brick. They are wire cut bricks, no plaster, no paint, so contractor cannot make a mistake. And the rat trap bond in a 9-inch, actually 220 in this case, we are getting 8-degree reduction from the west and the east side. 8-degree reduction. So air conditioning system, outside temperature being 40, 8 degrees cuts 32 to 23 is my delta straight away. Uh, Almost 16 to 20% saving we achieved. I would say averaging around 17 and a half. And material cost also was reduced because in rat trap bond the number of joints reduce. And we also got cavities to run conduits and things like that. This is interesting. All this morum is from our site, used for gabion walls, plumb concrete, as well as for the plinth. And then in terms of cross section, we've used Lumar film, which kind of does not allow glare. We have a galvalume sheet with insulated roof with 50 insulation, which straight away cuts down 5 to 7 degrees of sensitive heat. The steel trusses and the design of the beams, RCC beams, M40 concrete, the way we have worked out in the C beams, we have come to an average of between 2.5 to 3 kgs per square feet, which would have actually touched 4. So by innovative lean design, we've actually reduced the steel consumption in this building. Of course, here it is a little less because we have a steel truss, not an RCC slab, but even then. And then the exposed brick walls, I have already told you in rat trap bond, and then the plinth is from recycled morum. So a lot of care was taken in how materials are used and carefully orchestrated. In terms of the landscape, landscape is the last thing people want to do, whatever is left over. So we were very conscious that at the entrance in this sector, we use we use plants which having low maintenance, but at the same time they become a kind of a foreground for the building. The paved areas had to be covered because of heavy rain and heavy wind in Chakan. So that is only stamped concrete. Rest of the area is actually taking in water throughout the year. All the landscape is on drip, and we are using STP recycled water, almost 1 lakh liters on a daily basis to reuse, except for edible landscape. All other landscape gets recycled water. And inside, we have used like peace lilies and things like that where you don't need more water. They are indoor plants. And most of the plants are locally available and have high resilience to pest because, that is very important. So again, very simple strategies, but in terms of the plant selection, we wanted that the landscape actually grows over the years and there is a paradigm of time. So the building has an excellent spatial connect and a community connect amongst people. Here you can see in this collaborative space, festivals are celebrated. It's a very democratic office space. There is no cabin. Everybody sits in one type of workstation, even the plant head. And it actually fosters a kind of environment of collaboration and co-creation, because these are the people who are running one of India's largest motorbike plant. So that is very important. And there is no hierarchy. No hierarchy in terms of your junior, your senior. Everything is very nice and open. In fact, whenever I have walked in here, I make a point to have a cup of tea, and it's very good to hear that we really like our 8 hours here. That is the biggest compliment that you get from the end users. So this is now showing you the visual gallery. So this is the kind of landscape which becomes a foreground, and here you can see the overhangs on the west and the frugality of the building. Um, the, I mean, it's a building which kind of blends with the landscape. It's not something that is imposed, and the color, texture, visual texture, materiality actually respond to the climate. It's a building that is telling how the building is working, and that's the stamped concrete pathway with uh, the foreground landscape that you can see. Um, Lots of detailing. This building alone, we must have made some 45 to 50 working drawings. Yoga has kept some hair here. Otherwise, a lot of work is required to get buildings done in such a way. So this is a blown up shot to show you how the building looks, and those C-beams. Again, we had to put spikes for pigeons, because pigeons go and sit there, so the spikes are inside. And then these are the toilet shafts with the ventilation jalis on the top. So it's all integrated. These are the shots inside. So we wanted the landscape to blur the boundaries between the built and the unbuilt, and the landscape just goes in and then opens up into these collaborative spaces and really fills up the whole space with light, beautiful light coming in. And you can see the visual integration here. We've done PU treatment for all the trusses, which gives us a shelf life of about 15 to 17 years minimum. And all this is exposed. And I just want to end with this, that we're very happy that the space continues to leave a positive sensory and memorable experience. Whenever I go there, I see smiling faces, people coming and telling me, this collaborator had come, this fellow had come. They really like it. And I must say that a lot of the original ideas that were envisioned have manifested into the space. I would say 85% have manifested, 15% is circumstantial. And it's a great team effort. I mean, again, I just want to thank everybody who is present and not present, that without them this building would not have been possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for yet another engaging presentation and telling us the importance of integrated efforts. I would now like to open the question and answer session for the audience.
Sir, really inspirational work. I want to know a bit more about the baseline that you used for the annual energy usage consumption on the slide that you were comparing the proposed as well as the baseline. So, what was the baseline about? Was it ashtray? Something else?
No, there was no baseline. In fact, what we did is, once we were little satisfied with what we had done, only then we called the environmental consultant. Because I felt that's my responsibility first. Because now environmental design is so fashionable. I'm sorry if I'm being sarcastic. It's so fashionable that you can get completely confused. But then, of course, later on you need to have a baseline. So IGBC is what we have taken. But the idea is to I mean, 30, almost 38 to 40% energy saving is consciously done through an integrated approach, not a cosmetic approach. So that's how we kind of see it in all our projects. Yeah. Does that answer you? Yeah. Ventilation. We've stuck to the regular air changes that an office building requires. But on the east side and the yeah, there are calculations. But on the east and west side, we have openable windows. So when you don't need, we just switch off the right. We've used evaporative cooling. Yes, I can get back to you on this. I mean, my own studio is not air conditioned. Uh, we have desisted putting air conditioning in our own studio, and 10 years now, 11 years, people find it good. They feel when they go to somebody's office, most of our clients have air conditioned office. They feel we feel very stuffy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we have very little paint in the building. Yes, so we have less amount of paint in the building. Very few rooms, maybe 15% of the rooms which are meeting rooms. There we have used low VOC paint from Asian Paints. Yeah. Done?
Thank you, sir.